Hi, this is Asperger again with another audio video. Now this time I'll be talking about triggers. When I say triggers, what I mean is the key situations that bring about pain from memories, and can also result in the start of meltdowns. I have a lot of triggers, but the debilitating part about my triggers is that they affect two different aspects of my life, especially at the moment. These aspects fall under education and social, two of the main doors that are locked and bolted tight in my mind. These two doors have always obstructed me, but I'll save the description of doors to a different blog entry. What I'll talk about this time is both where those triggers come from and the effects they have. Educational triggers come from many different angles. They can be from someone's words to me, talking about how they progressed educationally. They don't even have to say anything. If I noticed what is surrounding them, like on a website, it would say they've been to college or university. It can affect me there. If I noticed others wearing school uniforms or carrying school equipment while I'm outside, it reminds me of both education and social. If I stumble across an educational building, and especially my old primary and secondary school, it can come from there as well. Educational triggers affect me because of the fact that after my breakdown in the second year of secondary school, following the PE teacher's interrogation of me, I was taught behind my bedroom door for 5.5 years, so it's highly likely I'm going to be beset by these triggers. I was content with how I was learning, and I could concentrate with the least possible chance of distraction. There were no eyes looking at me and no commotion from the other students. I could ask questions to the two home and hospital tutors directly and get direct answers from them. I passed several short and full GCSE courses, ASDAN courses, and I got 2 diplomas, one in photography, which I got a distinction grade for, and another in web design, which I got a merit grade. One of my tutors let me down badly when it came to GCSE ICT, as he did not understand the coursework that needed to be done. As a result, I failed, and yet I've always been very good with computers, ever since my father bought my first computer when I was 8 years old. The tutor refused to let me sit the exam again. Anyway, the way I was taught helped me immensely, and my educational dream became apparent especially at this time. At this time, I started to want to learn all sorts of different things, from learning more about my computer, for example computer maintenance, and learn about Photoshop, to learn different languages from German to Japanese, and even to learn a musical instrument. However, when this 139A assessment document I had to fill in with the Connections Advisor, in the UK the Connections Advisor is basically the Education and Careers Officer, this 139A assessment document is something you'd fill out with a Connections Advisor in order to continue with further education after a statement of special educational needs would have ended. The 139A assessment document came back with many inaccuracies, and even though a solicitor was involved to tackle the inaccuracies, they only made it worse. In response, I sent 2 emails to the solicitor, and neither one was acknowledged. My mother and I couldn't sign the document because of these inaccuracies, which were never put right. I was also entitled to an assessment of my needs going into adulthood by an expert in the autistic spectrum disorder to acknowledge what I can and cannot cope with. This document would be useful for presenting to further tutors, colleges, and for further employment. The 2 home and hospital tutors that came to teach me left, as did the managers of the Special Educational Needs Department, including my advocate. Due to all of this, every time I see anything reminding me of further education I missed out on, I keep comparing it to my situation, and the fact that I was unable to continue my education, even though I wanted to. I was entitled to it until I become 25, but the government that was elected the year my statement ended stopped all further education and funding to disabled young people. Legal aid was also stopped by the government, so my mother couldn't get a better educational solicitor to fight it. Every time I witness anything that reminds me of education, it always hurts me. However, I still have a strong passion to want to continue my education, but in a way I can cope with. This is why I feel so much pain whenever I come across educational triggers. I remember I once had a confrontation with a connections advisor I had earlier that I spoke to once from behind my bedroom door. Maybe it was due to my sensory issues, but I can remember how she absolutely reeked of cigarette smoke, and I can't stand cigarette smoke. Not only because of the health risks, but also because it reminds me of my father. I always wanted him to stop, but he didn't. The connections advisor said to me, "You want to be able to continue education? Then go to college." Then I explained about why I couldn't, and how I couldn't concentrate on my work with many people around me, and how those triggers would affect me. Then she just said, "But if you want to continue education, you have to go to college." She just ignored everything I just said to her. And then I came back with, "I'm sorry, but we're just going to go around in circles. I'll just answer you the same way." That's when she came back with, "We don't always get what we want." An individual on the spectrum does not need to hear that. I've been aware for so long that this world is cruel, but to hear it from a connections advisor that is supposed to help you find the right way to continue your education was appalling, and it sickened me. I've heard somewhere that if an individual on the spectrum is unable to learn the same way as everyone else, then you should teach them the way they feel comfortable to be taught. When it comes to social triggers, I doubt I'd really have to explain where those triggers come from. There are many, and they come from many different sources. They come from TV programs, adverts, films, people in the street, particular places and events, an interest my old friends were interested in, etc. I just have to see a group of friends around my age going out and having fun. The worst of all these social triggers is of course the emotional kind. And as I've already explained, I've gone through my own emotional pain. Therefore, this particular trigger affects me the most. This can come from so many sources, just as many as the friendship trigger. However, this trigger has the most lethal impact on me. Now, I've been through a lot when it comes to socializing, from the loss of 3 friends and missing out on someone that may have been interested in me. My first friend I met in primary school is less of a concern when it comes to what they were interested in, because they barely spoke a word to me. I know it seems strange to have a friend you barely know anything about, but that's exactly why I question whether it was even a friendship at all, or if he was just defending me from bullies by his presence alone. Therefore, I bestow the name of Rock to him every time I talk about him. My fake friend, the Rock. However, my second friend that I met in secondary school used to like Jackie Chan adventures and horrible histories. Now, I don't have much of a chance to come across those interests unless I peer into the loft and look at my old toys. However, when it comes to my third friend that I met in primary school, when our friendship became more apparent on Facebook, she was a hairdresser. Now, this particular trigger I am far more likely to come across. In fact, it's inevitable. I have to have my hair cut. Whenever I go to the hairdressers and see a girl cutting someone's hair, especially with blonde hair, then my mind immediately travels to that third friend. When a friendship stays strong, those triggers only lead to promoting the friendship, so in that respect it's a good thing. However, when friendships fail, that strength turns into an equal negative. The danger with me when it comes to socializing is that everything has 2 sides to it, light and darkness. I have become very aware of this. I always find it's a great responsibility to make a friendship, and they become all the more valuable, and the loss of a friendship can be so painful, it can be unbearable. Sorry. I always want to make friends, so I want to do all in my power to make sure that when I do, I make them both last and stronger. My fear is that strength turns against me, and the stronger a bond, the greater the pain. It's a gift and a curse. A good friendship is all the more greater, but the opposite is equally true. When it comes to the emotional side of these social triggers, they can be lethal. They are so painful that they immediately remind me of what I've been through. Walking away from that girl from secondary school 3 times left me feeling empty inside. I've not been able to fill that void, and every time I see couples outside, it cuts my heart in 2. I don't just have to see them outside, they can be in adverts, programs, films, video games, everywhere. I hate dating adverts, They make me very angry. I used to like watching the Harry Potter films until a certain film contained scenes of the emotional kind. In fact, the Harry Potter films themselves represent a school system, even if it is a magical one. Therefore, it only makes that have a greater impact on me. I never even finished watching the films because I couldn't chance how painful it would feel. I hate this pain, and it's a pain I doubt I'll ever truly rid myself of, but at the same time I can't stand it. I want to find a way to solve this pain. My biggest fear is that if I ever see that girl from secondary school again, and she walks beside her boyfriend or partner, if that happens, I think the pain I feel in my heart would have sunk to new levels, levels I don't think I'm prepared for. I think that would be one heck of an epic meltdown. The subject of emotional pain is one that is very serious for me. It's very dangerous, but at the same time, when it's true, it can be a beacon of hope. As everything carries itself in equal terms, I'm sure you can imagine if the pain would be great, then the benefits could be just as great. I bet if I truly succeeded in overthrowing this particular social trigger, I'd feel as if I've unlocked many doors of the social kind. It could feel like I would have finally broken free of a huge burden that's been pressing down on me, and I could finally look towards my social life and see a difference. Unfortunately, this is only speculation, and the reality cuts like a knife. Until a miracle happens in my life, I doubt this will be able to change. I am very aware, however, that friendship should always be taken precedence over tackling emotional pain. Everything happens in stages. You shouldn't climb to the pinnacle of a mountain without traversing the base first. So, I want to do all in my power to find more true friends, and everything else comes later. What sets these two great sets of triggers off would also happen to be from my cousin. She has all of these: a college education, a university education, friends, and a partner. She is barely even a year younger than me, and I can't stand to be around her because she reminds me of everything I lack. Even though she is neurotypical, I can't help but feel this way. These are my dreams here. They are very important to me. As they are important, the impact they have on me is intensified. When you're around someone that completely shuts off to the impact their words have on you, it only leads to your anger levels rising. That's especially the case with my meltdowns. The more I am around my cousin, the more the temperature gauge goes up, and the greater the chance of a meltdown. My meltdowns only need to reach a certain boiling point, and that's it. It's meltdown time. Meltdowns in themselves are overwhelming bursts of emotional energy, and that emotional energy comes from all the triggers set off by what's around me. Triggers can be lethal, but if the situation has turned on its head, these hurtful triggers could become triggers that could combat that pain. They would then become the light combating the darkness. I am aiming to create light triggers, to fight the dark triggers, to fight my dark past. Anyway, that's it for now, and thank you for listening.